the verdict, and instead of reading the jury foreperson's name out loud, just refer to the jury foreperson as juror number 1.
In the Circuit Court of the 15th Judicial Circuit, Criminal Division, in and for Palm Beach County, Florida. Case number 10CF005829 AMB Division W. State of Florida versus John Goodman, defendant. Verdict: we the jury find as follows. As to count 1, we find the defendant guilty of DUI manslaughter and failure to render aid as charged in the information. As to count 2, we find the defendant guilty of vehicular homicide, failure to render aid information as charged in the information. So say we are this 23rd day of March 2012 in West Palm Beach, County, Florida. Signed, jury foreperson, juror number 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a procedure we call polling the jury. It's just to make sure that not only was this your verdict as a group, but individually as well. I'll ask the clerk to ask each one of you the following question. Juror number whatever. Was the verdict as read your verdict? If it was, you'll say yes, and if it wasn't, you'll say no. And we'll just go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Juror number 1, was the verdict as read your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 2, was the verdict as read your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 3, was the verdict as read your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 4, was the verdict as read your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 5, was the verdict as read your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 6, was the verdict as read your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you very much for your time, your attention. It was obvious that you put a lot of effort into us and sacrificed leaving your lives for a couple of weeks to be here doing this very important civic duty. I hope you have a better appreciation for it.
I know that it took a lot for them to come up with a conclusion, and justice has been served. I'm always going to miss my son. He was the most wonderful. I will always cherish his memories. And now, coming from me and the rest of the family and his friends, it's time for the healing process to begin. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything to the supporters that have been with you?
That's enough, folks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank them all for.
Go ahead.
Yes. I want to thank everyone.
The tears of a mother and the words of a mother who lost her 23-year-old son. Will never see him in his first job or his first grandchild, her first grandchild. That is Lily Wilson, Scott Wilson's mother. In court, the times we were in the courtroom, stoic, pleasant, and now it's all come to a conclusion.
Cindy Wilson and Scott Smith, the attorney. I know that neither of you want to talk, so I'm just going to make that very clear. You are the spokesman for the family. Give us your initial thoughts upon hearing the verdict and the family's thoughts, if you would please, Mr. Smith.
Well, the first thing we'd like to say, Roxanne, is we'd like to offer our most grateful appreciation to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office for being so diligent in the prosecution of this case. And a special thanks to Ellen Roberts, who understands she's retiring here in the near future, so we greatly appreciate her efforts. With respect to your answer, of course, my client, Mr. Wilson, and his wife, Cindy, are pleased with the result. It appears the jury in this case, after a diligent deliberation process, found that Mr. Goodman's defenses were without merit.
During your discussions during the week with Cindy and William Wilson about how the last 3 weeks the trial was going along, did you have moments where you thought that perhaps it wasn't going to have the outcome you perhaps were expecting and wanted?
Well, as a trial lawyer, I know the ebb and flow of a trial. There are peaks and valleys throughout any trial, no matter how strong the evidence is in either a criminal or civil case. So I knew that, and I was counseling my client in that regard. But ultimately, we had great confidence in the prosecutors in the overwhelming evidence in favor of the state's case. There were three things Mr. Goodman just could not get away from. Number one, his blood alcohol level of 0.177 3 hours after the crash. Number two, he ran through a stop sign he's very familiar with at nearly twice the speed limit. And number three, he left the scene of the crash. And when he finally got a phone in his hand, the first two phone calls were not to 911, but his girlfriend and his friend Carlos Provaz.
When you heard the opening statements from the defense, I so much want to ask both of you what you thought, and I know you don't want to talk, and I want to make that very clear that you'd rather not. I do want to respect that. But speaking for the family, when you spoke that evening, the opening statements, that the Bentley malfunctioned, that Mr. Goodman was not drunk until after the accident, what were the thoughts of the family?
Mr. Wilson lost his only son, his best friend, when he lost 23-year-old Scott Patrick Wilson. So that pain, that grief, and that sorrow is intensified or caused to be greater when he hears one not want to accept responsibility or accountability for this horrific crash. So that was very difficult for Mr. Wilson and Cindy to listen to. No question about it.
For a moment today, Ellen Roberts did take a moment just a short time ago during her news conference speaking about the time it took to file the charges and to arrest Mr. Goodman, and said this takes time. And I wondered, it seemed like we had, for a while, people were, I know, emailing and calling many of us about that this man was getting away with murder, in the terms of many people who would call and email us at WPTV. Do you think she took a moment specifically because of the calls and the cries for justice before the investigation was completed?
Well, again, Ellen Roberts is a 20-year veteran traffic homicide prosecutor. I think what she was doing was making sure she had all of her T's crossed and her I's dotted before she brought the charges against Mr. Goodman. And we look back on it now, the jury found him guilty of both DUI manslaughter, leaving the scene, vehicular homicide, leaving the scene. So whatever she chose to do worked out to her benefit, the state's benefit, and my client's benefit.
We know it's a big day, but we know that Scott Wilson is still not with us, and for that, we are deeply sorry for what happened. Thank you for taking a moment on this day after this verdict, for telling us and expressing your feelings, Cindy and William Wilson, for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Smith, very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.